But basically tonight's purpose was to inform you as we approach senior year, what the students should be doing spring, summer, and then the senior year. Just an overall thing as we approach college application season. So first of all, like the first part I wanted to share with you is a general timeline of what's going to happen. This is going to be my third year with the senior class, and just as each class is different, every year I find being a grade level advisor, the requirements as well as like information that students need to know, as parents need to know as well to be successful to apply to the schools has been changing. And so I've been pushing the timeline actually earlier to make the process less anxious and much more informative to students, as well as just to for them to make a more informed choice later, other than scrambling for certain things. And that's also because I think people have heard about like the senior panel, and that honestly was it was very useful like 6-7 years ago when we sat down with students in their senior year in October or November and asked them like what were the college plans. And at that time it was seen for a lot of students like for the first time they even talked to somebody. But now having that conversation in like October, November, it's a little bit too late to have that initial conversation. So again, the senior panel, as we talk about it now, it's going to be different. And so we'll talk about it here first of all. So February this week, parent meeting, visiting junior classes. The things in the red are things that you can fully participate in, you know, and the things in the highlighted teal blue are the things I expect the students to be responsible for. I have this questionnaire, and I'll show you in the next slide, a parent questionnaire, just to get your input about perceptions of your student child, like what he or she, his strengths are, you know, how he or she has overcome certain things. And I'd like you to fill it out if you can and return it back to me. And I have a questionnaire again for the student from his or her point of view to do it. And this was introduced last year by Mr. Gutierrez, and it was very helpful for the parents, well, helpful for Mr. Gutierrez to get a more comprehensive understanding of your child. If, however, you just give that questionnaire to the student to fill out, please don't do that, because basically those questions are somewhat repeated in the student questionnaire, and we don't need a duplicate copy of the student questionnaire. So this is optional, just another way for the grade level advisor to understand your child. Next week, March, what's it called? In the month of March when we start, we're actually going to have the initial kind of meeting with your student. Mid-March, the different Whitney High School staff, people who've all been very much so in part of the process with college applications. People have had in the past been grade level advisors as well as like admissions reader for the UC system. So those people, myself, Mr. West, Mr. Gutierrez, Mr. Galanchak, Suzanne, and Mary, well, we're going to divide up the students so that we can meet with them one-on-one. I've tried to do that in the last, like again, as I said to you, the 2 other classes. But it's, I mean, that time becomes so little and becomes little brief and brief as I try to meet 170 kids and try to answer that. So by splitting it up amongst 6 of us, it just makes it much more feasible to give that much more individualized time for your student. And so mid-March, a person will contact your student, and if you have questions about about process information about like how to apply to colleges and things like that too, you can also optionally contact that person for questions too. I'm still their grade level advisor, but this is just another way to help out and answer any questions too. At that time, the student, starting from March, so it might be in March, April, or May, the student will bring the completed questionnaires to the person they're meeting with. They'll talk over and finalize their testing plan, because as a sophomore, I went in, when your students were sophomores, I went into their classes and I talked about having a tentative testing plan for their junior year. But I think about 60% have started taking a test. Some of them are still planning to take it first time in March, or they're going to plan to take it in April or June. But we just want to make certain that they have registered for at least one of the standardized testing by springtime. and not wait till the fall of their senior year to take the first standardized testing. Also talk about college visits. College visits, the best time to take to go visit the college campuses are when schools are in session. So spring break, a great time in April when schools are not out yet for our students to go and visit schools that they can, if that would best work with our student schedule. Also in March, we want online innovians that the students put initial college lists. And I told that to the students too. It's very important because as Mary and Suzanne coordinate which schools are coming out, they try to aggressively invite those students that your students have identified as their prospective list. And if none of the students say they're interested in this school, then it's hard to say, oh yeah, there's a rhyme or reason to invite these schools out because not enough students have indicated their interest in that. So that is why it's very important for our students to at least write it down what their initial college list is. It doesn't have to be that list that they're going to apply to, but at least we need to have those representatives start to come out in the fall. And usually those scheduling happen half a year to a year in advance. Okay? And then begin the strategy. The first intake will start talking about so you accomplished this much in your courses as well as your extracurricular. How are you going to market yourself to look unique in comparison to your peers, not just the peers at Whitney, but your peers across the nation when you apply to the colleges? What kind of things are you going to emphasize about yourself, and et cetera? And as well as talking about senior course registration will happen in March. It is very, very important that the students keep up the rigor of what they have been studying before. Don't overwhelm themselves. I've had some kids feel very overwhelmed this junior year because they put the pressure on themselves to do really well. But it's equally as important as senior year. It's not all of a sudden like junior's over. No, senior year is very important. College admissions officers look at the rigor of the senior year as well as definitely the first semester grades of the senior year. So it's important. There's a lot of some of the seniors are like, I just want 5 classes or 4 classes. Like, no, we expect minimum of 5 classes. 6 classes fine too. That's fine. So this is what the parent questionnaire sheet will look like, and where will you get it? It will be on the Whitney High School website, as well as I will email it to you at the end of this, well, tomorrow, at the end of this program. And so I would like you to fill it out. These are certain questions that only you can answer about your students. For example, what you witness as the most development by your child, something I might not know about, so you can make me aware of it. The most significant personality trait about your child. Is there something like certain other family-related factors that influence your child's choices or obstacles? Those are kind of questions, personal things that I can never get in looking at the academic record or the extracurricular thing. Things are insight that only a parent could share comfortably, and I would need to know too to better give a comprehensive picture for the colleges too.
Does that go to the college?
If I'm writing them a letter of recommendation, yes, I would mention certain things,
But you don't attach the question?
No.
Okay.
No. So the information, if it is useful, then I would incorporate it. If it benefits your child, I would incorporate it into a letter of rec.
So it's just between the parents and you? Yeah.
Yes, it's just between myself and and the parent information. I'm not gonna mail your writing, no. So post APs, so May, June, for the later half, what I'm going to do is, because as I shared with you, now there's like 4 people on staff who've been, who are and who have been admissions reader for the UC system. I read for UCLA again this year. We're much more informed about the college application process, and so I want to share that with your students too. I'm going to train them what the colleges are looking for, because this holistic kind of ranking that they have for students, when the students know that, it helps them know what to emphasize about themselves too when they apply. You need to know what the rankings are. So I'm going to go and have them look at sample things as well as rank it, and then start the process of them figuring out what to work on in their application thing.